All right, hello everybody. It's me, your boy Cryptid. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate the audience. Okay, so this is a video uh talking about how the poor multi-billion-dollar corporation known as Hoyoverse got unreasonably bullied by its player base for no honestly good reason at all. It's really sad, and let's see how they got bullied. We need to know in depth what happened to them.
After weeks of frustration, backlash, and Twitter meltdowns, Honkai Star Rail has actually responded to player criticism regarding Update 3.0. I know, shocking. A gacha game developer listening to feedback, and not just that,
That's never happened in the history of ever. They only listen to money. It's amazing. The players they've won. They've grabbed them by the balls and they've said, we want different thing. We want different thing now. And they're like, you know what? You right, dog. It's impressive, to be honest.
That billion-dollar company that is known to not have good communication with its players.
Once again, providing good, critical feedback has saved the game once again.
It is practically a historic.
It's crazy. It's almost like listening to your player base and improving upon the game from what the players are saying is a good thing, not a bad thing. If only more companies would listen to their players.
Event. And let me tell you, the reactions have been hilarious on this.
However, Hoyoverse has shown us a lot of nice things in the past. Things like Genshin's artifact selector.
This tidbit in my story review. So, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's looking like they listen to me.
Mr. Pokey is out here doing the gritty over St. Tontas because the rank 1 Kuro bot didn't think this day would ever come.
See, here's the thing, is he thought the game never needed to be changed in the first place. So him being excited about this is crazy. I feel like he doesn't really have a leg to stand on because he didn't want them to do changes. When he read it, he didn't even believe they were going to do it in the first place. So I feel like him being, oh, my game's just so much better because they listen. You capping, dog. You didn't want them to listen. You didn't want them to change. You wanted them to stay the same greedy company they were.
If you had Hoyoverse addressing player concerns on your 2025 bingo card, congratulations. You just won a great achievement in gacha gaming. But jokes aside, credit where it's due. HSR devs actually acknowledge their mistakes and promise changes. That alone is a win. However, imagine if this were Genshin Impact. We would be witnessing something completely different.
So what I believe you were trying to say is thank you.
Thank you?
You're welcome.
What? No. I didn't. I wasn't. Why would I ever say that? I mean,
maybe 20 free polls.
I mean, not out of the realm of possibility. Just saying.
As an apology, but putting them at the second half so you can't use it for the new limited banner characters. Or if we're really lucky, the CEO himself bursting into tears on a live stream because the players dared to criticize them. So
Genshin is just honestly, it's beyond saving at this point. They don't want to do anything that benefits the players. They continuously do action after action to make you suffer as much as possible. And it doesn't make any sense why the players still defend the game. It doesn't make any sense at all. They literally push your buttons to the extreme. They're like, oh, sorry, here's 3 pulls, and you forgive them. Ridiculous.
Yes, progress is happening, but before we start celebrating, let's talk about why this happened in the first place. Let's be real, HSR fans essentially bullied the devs into change. And guess what? It worked. This is what happens when player hold develop.
Same thing had with Sonic, don't you forget that. If we didn't bully them, Sonic would have been a huge flop. And then it became great. Bullying is a necessity in life. I'm gonna stick by that.
Accountable instead of worshiping them like they can do no wrong. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, isn't that toxic? Well, absolutely not. Bullying a multi-million-dollar company into fixing their predatory practices and low-effort content is not only justified, it's necessary. If no one complains, nothing changes. Simple as that. Because let's be honest, gacha games thrive off of complacency. They bank on players either being too loyal or too exhausted to fight back. And we saw that a lot happening in Genshin Impact. Now, there's nobody taking the survey seriously.
Always voice your opinions, because at no point, I mean, if you like the game, of course you're going to voice yourself so that they they changed the things for the better. So you want to play the game, your friends want to play the game, and more people can join the community. If you keep leaving it like shit, no one's going to want to play it, and then you're going to feel bad playing it. It doesn't make any sense to leave it like that.
And a lot of them are really content with absolute trash filler patches. But now we're seeing what happens when people actually demand better, and that is a huge step forward for the gacha community as a whole. With that being said, let's not get too carried away. I've read the dev notes, and while some of the changes sound good on paper, I can't lie, it feels way too overhyped. There's still a lot room for improvement, and frankly, I don't trust these companies enough to take everything at face value. So let's break this down. What is actually changing, and is it enough? Now this right here, this is the change that actually got people hyped. According to the Chinese dev notes translated by none other than Mr. Pookie himself, older units will get buffed. Now replaced with new, shinier 5-star versions, they are straight up buffing the characters themselves. So unless I'm blind or Hoyo's lying, which let's be real, wouldn't be the first time, this means they're acknowledging a major issue in Honkai Star Rail's design. Old units becoming completely irrelevant.
Completely irrelevant. It's almost like downplaying it. There are still older 4-star units that you can use to this day that can either support or help keep up with certain things, right, in the game. But the 5-star units, take Zila for example. She feels like she's weaker. She can't even kill a trotter now in MOC. She can't even kill a trotter, a fully built out, maxed out Zila. It's worthless. It's pathetic, honestly. And as a hunt unit, not being able to one-shot a little trotter that's supposed to explode and do damage, it's honestly just pathetic. It's quite pathetic.
And funnily enough, if we all just accepted that terrible take about how power creep is a player issue, not a company issue, we wouldn't even be getting this change. So I have to
talk about things that do not age well.
To ask, is Mr. Pokey going to admit that he was wrong? Or are we all just pretending that never happened? But hey, this calls for a celebration. But before that, let's pump the brakes for a second. Because if we know Hoyo, it's always going to be a disappointing change, yo. Sorry for the back joke. I think it's going to be a tiny buff, just enough to make them feel better, but not enough to actually make them competitive with the newest.
Okay, so what I feel like it's not going to make them top tier, right? I feel like the buffs are going to make them a good middle road. They don't want them to be super weak like they are. They want them to be at least usable, right? But they don't want you to one cycle or zero cycle with them. They're going to make it so they're going to be, if we're going to put in the Pride Win terms, since he has that up, maybe like a T1, maybe a T1.5, something like that. Something usable, but not the best, of course, because they got to save that for the new units coming out. They got to save that, because if you come out and you're like, oh, Sela is the new best unit in the game, she's so good you don't need to pull the next DPS, they're going to lose money. They can't have that. They want to make money while making the players happy, right? And they want to make the characters good enough to where if you like the character, you can use it. Because when the rerun banner comes around, they're going to be like, hey, I kind of like that character. They're still kind of good. I might pull on that character. Maybe spend like $50, maybe $100 here and there to get some rerun characters that you didn't get before because they were bad. You know? It's all part of their plan to make you spend as much money as possible. Don't get it twisted.
Releases. Why? Because making old units too good would hurt new character sales, and Hoyo is not about to risk that. If it's a major buff though, then I'll applaud them. Because right now, let's be real, there is absolutely no reason to pull for rerun characters unless they're absolutely cracked like Runmei or Rabbit. And before you argue, let's be honest with yourselves. If you're actually—
and that's only really with support harmony units and maybe a couple healers here and there. But older DPS, don't even worry about it. But supports are always going to be viable. It's just a matter of when you get them, right?
Trying to clear endgame content efficiently, would you ever pull for a rerun unit? No, because the next broken 5-star is always right around the corner. That's the entire reason people don't roll on reruns unless it's a must-have unit. Most of the time, the endgame revolves around the newest characters anyway. I mean, look at what the Herda can do this patch. She is tier 0 in all endgame modes at E0S0. This buff announcement though, it actually gives hope to people who want to use their old favorites. Players who have been around since launch, who pulled and invested in these characters, only to watch them slowly rot in the corner of their account because they're just not—
Rest in peace, Dot. Hopefully Dot will come back and we can make Dot great again. Because as it stands now, the worst in the game. And I'm sorry to say, I I got Kafka, I got Black Swan, I got their light cones. I full on went hard on the dot meta. Did not pay off whatsoever. And then the emanator we get for Nihility has nothing to do with dots at all. Now, granted, makes sense. Nihility isn't about dots, it's about debuffs. But still, you see where I'm hurt. Doesn't make any sense.
Not viable anymore. But, and this is a big but, if you know what I mean, Hoyo has a long history of pump faking its players. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Is this going to be a genuine buff or just another sinister tactic to bait players into spending again? If they're actually going to buff the characters directly,
I'm telling you right now, if it's something sinister to get your hopes up and then give them like, oh, we're just going to give the characters like a 3 speed boost and maybe like a 5% damage increase, there's going to be a riot, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will just drop the game on the spot. There are a lot of new gacha games coming out this year, and if Hoyo messes this up and drops the ball with Honkai Star Rail, it might be the end of them. I'm going to be real. The player base isn't as rabid as Genshin, right? Because, you know, they started at different times. Genshin players, that's all they had. They clung to it during the pandemic. But Honkai doesn't have that kind of buff, or the Star Rail doesn't have that kind of buff. So they really might. They have a lot riding on this. If they drop the ball too hard, they might just lose a good chunk of their player base.
I'd be shocked, you know? Given Hoyo's track record, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into another round of, oh, we meant buff as in give them an exclusive new light cone that you can get in the gacha banner or something. Well, so yeah, great news, but I'll believe it when I see it. So the devs have finally acknowledged what every Honkai Star Rail player already knew. The main story has way too much exposition and reading fatigue. Congratulations, guys. It only took thousands of players button mashing cutscenes like they were speedrunning a visual novel to realize this.
Yeah, and it's like when you're in the cutscenes, or not in the cutscenes, but going through the text, they'll sit there and they'll say the whole text and then just sit there and just stare at each other for a minute. And you can't skip through it. I'll be sitting there breaking my mouse. I have the auto text going on and everything I could possibly do. And they'll just sit there for a minute, just kind of staring at each other, just enjoying the view, just relaxing. Like, can we hurry on with this? I already read what you said 3 times before you even finished saying it, in the most monotone-ass voice you could possibly say it in. And then that's if they have a voice line, because some of the characters didn't even have voice lines at the beginning of this patch. So, they really need to speed it up. Give me a skip button with the summarize, and we're good to go.
And in my opinion, and a lot of others, HSR has an incredible story, but its storytelling is really bad, like painfully bad. It's like if someone had the most epic high-stakes tale to tell, but delivered it in the most monotone, boring voice imaginable. Oh wait, they're not even voiced. And what is the solution? Less talking and a partial skip feature? Wow. So instead
I'm just gonna say I did not pre-watch this at all. Not at all.
A 10-hour story quest is just 9 hours. How revolutionary! But here's the real issue. Not all players are here for the story, okay? HSR has always been a gacha game with a built-in identity crisis. It caters to casual players who just want to pull.
Anyone who cares for the story of Honkai Star Rail skips the entire story in the game, and they just watch someone on YouTube just summarize it with the nice pictures and everything. Because, Lord and behold, people on YouTube actually know how to talk and or voice characters. It's crazy that these people on YouTube that do it for their own time are better than the voice actors that are paid for it on the spot, right? And that's if Hoyo pays their voice actors. If you're interested in the story, just watch somebody on YouTube. They do it 100 times better of explaining the story and conveying what is need to be conveyed in the story than Hoyoverse does.
Both are cool characters, but it also expects those same players to sit through EO tweet length dialogue dumps. And that's just not happening, my guy. I mean, look at me. In Genshin, I pulled for Mavika. I built my teams, but you know what? I didn't touch the story. Not because it's bad. I mean, it's subjective, right? I mean, listen, putting a motorcycle in a region with no roads couldn't be that bad, right? Sorry. It's like putting chocolate on pizza. It shouldn't go together, but it can be good for someone, right? Anyways, it's not because it's bad, but because staring at 10 hours of text is intimidating. And I know I'm not the only one. Plenty of players treat the story mode like an annoying side quest.
Anytime I see a character, if I see a panel of text, lose interest on the spot. I got ADHD. I can't pay attention to that. talk to me, please. And if I get into a cutscene where I'm forced to read, like it still shows the characters, but no one has a voice, I'm out of it too. I'm out of the game. You make so much money off of these people. Put some effort into this, right? Take away the text scenes. Take away the non-voiced scenes. Talk to me. Do something, all right? Basically a AAA game, but you're acting like you're made from like scraps in a garage, right? Actually, strike that. People in the garage can make a better game than that half the time.
As they'll get to eventually, but never actually do. In fact, I know a couple of friends who pay people to do these quests for them. And that to me is just really, really pathetic, Hoyoverse. So while I appreciate the effort, I'm not convinced this is a real fix. This is just a band-aid and like a samurai slash rune. This is insane. And let's talk about the infamous black screen and white text issue. Nothing says immersive storytelling like dramatic music playing over a void of nothingness, while the infamous black screen and white...
Alright, accidentally in the recording. Sorry about that.
Text issue. Nothing says immersive storytelling like dramatic music playing over a void of nothingness while the game dumps paragraphs of exposition on you. It's like what?
And people are talking about the puzzles ruining your immersion, right? No, it's all about the black screens. Honestly.
Watching a cutscene in an audiobook. Wow, what a horrible metaphor. These black screens aren't even voiced. The devs said that they're going to replace their system, but how? Are they adding actual cutscenes or are we just getting a slightly fancier still images with text? Because let's be honest, if their grand solution is glorified PowerPoint slides, then this isn't really a fix at all. A much better alternative, let's say Zelda Zone Zero. That game has great storytelling format. It actually understands pacing.
It's really nice. I love the comics Zenless has. I love the old school two characters looking at you, and then the actual scenes they have are immaculate. Zenless Zone Zero, granted, I don't pay attention too much because I'm just stupid, but they can really activate people.
It uses cinematic angles, character movements, expressions, and visual cues to keep dialogue engaging, instead of throwing a wall of text at players and expecting them to care. If HSR took notes from that, then we'd be talking about a real improvement. But for now, cautious optimism. Maybe it'll make a difference, or maybe we'll just get more still images of Aglaia looking mighty fine, while a dialogue box explains the activity I did.
After they update this, and it still shows still images of nothing really happening. It's just like a still image and it says, oh, and then you zoom closer in text. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my ever-loving mind. Oh, they make too much money off of this game for them to be this lazy.
With your mother last night, who knows? Then we have the puzzle fixes. All right, finally, a win of common sense. The devs admitted that puzzles were too long and interrupted the story's flow. And you know what? That's exactly what we needed to happen. Listen, if I'm knee deep in a dramatic moment, if I'm immersed in the story because of the black and white text, I don't want to pause for 15 minutes to play Professor Layton, but worse. If you want hard puzzles, make them separate challenges, not forced roadblocks in the story. This is a fundamental design principle that somehow gets ignored in gacha RPGs. And before anyone calls this dumbing down the game, let's talk about my favorite game, Wuthering Waves. Because even in the very early stages of Wuthering Waves, like the Yinlin companion quest, that game lets you solve a puzzle if you want to, but also gives you an easy way out if you don't feel like doing it. That is how you handle puzzle design in a story-driven game, or rather, a story quest in the game. Give players an option to engage with complexity, not force it down their throats, like what I did to your mother last night. Also, can we talk about the meme? Apparently, they made this change because of Gacha Smack. If you don't know, Gacha Smack became the talk of the space for a little bit for complaining about the puzzles, spending too much time on it. And apparently now he's basically single-handedly responsible for this update, which is hilarious, but also
is funny because Unk just couldn't solve the puzzles fast enough, and he got unimmersed, right? So now everybody's saying he's the next gacha messiah.
Proof that voicing concerns actually works. Here's the bottom line. Criticizing games isn't complaining. It's about making them better. This dev note, it proves that they listen. Your opinions matter. Your voice matters. But you know whose voice doesn't matter? The people who blindly defend these companies no matter what they do. They don't reward 100%. You for it. They don't thank you for it. There is no loyalty program for being a corporate lapdog, but holding them accountable, that benefits both you and them. It forces them to fix issues, improve the game, and ultimately
I just don't understand the people that blindly are just loyal to companies that they don't work for. They have no gain for it. They don't get, like he said, you don't get any kind of rewards. You don't get any kind of compensation. You're just sitting there being a shill just to be a shill. Hold companies accountable Make them make the game better. And then you'll be happier, everyone else is happier, and if everyone else is happier because the game's better, they will agree that your game is good. But if you say, nah, the game's fine as it is, and the game is a steaming pile of dog turds, nobody's going to agree with you. Nobody's going to like your game, and they're going to think you're stupid for even mentioning anything like that.
Create something you actually want to play. So yeah, keep calling those things out, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be getting these changes at all.
100%. He makes such valid points. And, don't forget to leave a like on his video. I'm going to have the video in the description down below. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe to me too. I would truly appreciate it. I love making these videos. I love reacting to these things, making my own videos. I love talking to you guys. So thank you all and have a good one. Peace.